only brings to you the problems or the challenges that we face as a people here in North America, but we also bring the solution. Since 1990, this movement has operated in Chicago on the north side, west side, east side, and south side. And our entire purpose, again, is to shed light on the condition that we face as a people. This month, as you know, and we've been saying it every month, that the Temple of Mercy Association have what we call prescribed readings, whereby we study from different persuasions or issues that we find our people involved in, so that history won't be repeated. We are given the task to make sure that our future generations are given the history of our struggle. In the month of January, the Temple of Mercy Association, aka the TOMA Nation, we go into an intense study about COINTELPRO. And we talk about how it destroyed movements in the past that were dedicated to our rise and dedicated to getting us out of that condition of poverty that we found ourselves in. This month, we will focus on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But at the same time, we will focus on a brother by the name of Dr. Khalid Muhammad. And as you can see, one was black nationalist, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, and one was for civil rights, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But then we'll go back, and there's a book that we study from, which is called Gandhi, the Man. Gandhi, the Man. Now we have people who speak very negative about Gandhi, and we have those who speak very positive about Gandhi, but we know that we have people who speak negative about W.E.B. Du Bois, and we have people who speak positive about W.E.B. Du Bois and his relationship to Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So we're not going to look at the negative, we're going to look at the positive, because there's a word or a sentence that says, accentuate the positive. And so if we're going to move forward as a people, we have to study those things that worked by studying the people who challenged the system and won. And so when we go back to Mahatma Gandhi, we find that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who promoted a nonviolent philosophy or theme or theology, he studied Mahatma Gandhi. And Mahatma Gandhi, not he or just him by himself, but he started a movement that rose up against their oppressor, who at that time happened to be the whole country of Britain. And they had taken over India. And they, from an economic standpoint, had commercialized everything that they could in India and monetized it, and they were making a monopoly out of everyday things like they do here in America, like in America, gas, lights, water, all that's for sale now. Well, Britain had taken sea salt that most people in India use for many different things. And they this sea salt from the sea, and they packaged it and sold it back to the Indians. But not only that, the majority of the people in India bought their garments that were made in Britain. So that means that Britain had a monopoly on the merchandise industry based on the clothing items that the people in India wore, from shoes to jewelry, all the way across the board. Similar to how America has commercialized Kwanzaa. Mm-hmm. You can buy Kwanzaa clothes for Kwanzaa, all the different material that you get to set up your Kwanzaa display, and you can get it from JCPenney, you can get it from Sears now, you can get it from Walmart and everywhere now. It's just been commercialized. Well, Gandhi saw that, and he saw the condition of his people living in poverty, while Britain was getting over like a fat rat. And he decided to go against that. They had laws that he considered unjust. But the main part I want to focus on, just to show you where we're going with this, is that he was victorious. See, I don't want to talk about the problem 90% of the time and then the last 10% on the solution. I want to tell you right now that he was victorious. He, in his movement, ran Britain out of their country.
That's right.
Now, you'd have to look at the movie. There's a movie out on Gandhi that goes into it and shows you all about it. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to introduce our speaker for today. But I just wanted to set the tone to let you understand that we, in this movement, are about the solutions to our challenges. The strategies that Gandhi used can still be used today.
Yes, sir.
And we have to upgrade Martin Luther King's strategy that he drew from Gandhi, and we have to take it and look at it like this. Let's place the nonviolent philosophy that Martin Luther King put out, and let's use it in the black neighborhood among one another. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Among one another. Mm-hmm. But then let's take the upgraded version of what Gandhi had put out, which was non-cooperation with unjust laws and unjust situations, and resist it and go against it. And that's what we will then direct toward our open enemy. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And so we say today that in order for us to move forward, we have to do like you would if you were in the kitchen cooking. And you mix things together. Well, we have to mix some parts of the civil rights movement in with some parts of the nationalist movement and stir it up and see what you get. And come back at our enemy full force. There's no one challenging the opposition right now.
That's right.
They're just moseying on through, unopposed, doing what they want to do. Open up all the stores they want to open up. Use them as covers to sell guns and drugs any time they want to. Undercover, selling alcohol. Undercover, saying they have food and liquor stores, and when you go in, it's more liquor than food. And now beginning to close down all of the food stores and now open up wine and spirit stores so that they can just show you blatantly what they were doing all the time. No resistance from us. None. Zero. Just have their way. And so if you want to go back and check out one of our lectures where our minister Omari challenged us as a people. Challenged us the same way Harry Belafonte challenged the entertainment world, in the sports world. Challenged us. And the Temple of Mercy Association said, we heard you, Minister Omari. We accept the challenge. And so from this pulpit, you'll hear the challenge. And we stand on it because there are some issues that they're not really addressing as a people. They have actually just looked at where the enemy threw the rock in the water, and wherever they saw the ripple is where they ran to. Meanwhile, the R. Kelly ripple.
Yes, sir.
No comment.
There's a rippling, too.
And meanwhile, on the other side, they're doing everything they can. Did you all know, and I'm going to shut up after this, that every January they have new laws that they put on the books that go into effect that you don't know nothing about while you in the R. Kelly? It ain't my turn. It ain't my time. And look, let me say this before I call this brother. Dr. Khaled, who we will be talking about when I come up next week. The New Black Panther Party just had a celebration of his Earth Day a couple of days ago. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing because, he said exactly like this. But he told the enemy, and he said it this way, the white man, that he was going to be like a pit bull on a ASS. That's what he said.
Yes, sir. He said it.
And I want you to understand what he meant when he said that, because when a pit bull get a grip,
you don't let go.
he will not let go.
That's right.
No matter which way you shake him, he got a lock on you. And that's what he did. Morning, noon, and night, Dr. Khaled shook him up. You didn't just walk easily around us and do your work and didn't hear from the pit bull that was let out and unleashed. Well, nobody's doing it on the level that Dr. Khaled did it on, and because he came in from the Nation of Islam and that catapulted him out in the public. So it takes some sort of a movement, a big movement to push you out there. So his voice is not heard as much. But as we move forward, as the Temple of Mercy Association, or TOMA Nation, which is an all-inclusive, black, conscious, righteous movement, I want you to know that we're connecting the dots, that we're connecting our history to our young people so that they can see what happened in the past, what happened in the 90s, and they will be able to look clearly at the strategy that this enemy is using against us, and then see that they have not changed strategy, they just changed technology. And COINTELPRO is no longer on a sheet of paper addressed to someone's mail sent out through the mail, but they've upgraded to texting, messaging, Facebook, all of social media, and it's used again to dismantle and disrupt movements like this one so that we won't have any juice when it's time to go up against the real enemy. But it won't work because we're going to expose it. Every time we see it, we're going to call it out. And I'm sorry, every time, brothers and sisters, and we know this as a fact. Every time you call out the real enemy, some handkerchief head Negro show up. That works for them. That's being paid by them. That's being employed. And those people go out and come against us because we're affecting their standard of living. And they're going to protect that at all costs. So we're going to always have a Judas. And Judas is plural, not singular. Just like Christ is plural, not singular. And we have many Christs. Christ-conscious brother named Omari came up and spoke to you around New Year's. Was that Christmas? Or it was one of them 2 days. New Year's.
No, last Sunday.
No,
New Year's.
no.
It was on the Sunday.
It was all three of them.
Oh, really? New Year's and Sunday.
And then you're listening to another Christ right now.
That's right.
Christ has no respect of persons. But when Christ's consciousness awakens, it goes after the devil. It exposes the devil. So I want to bring to you who you've heard in the past and who Satan tried to take out, but it didn't work because we serve a higher power. Satan is mighty, but the higher power we serve is almighty. And if you want to really listen to the term, you better go and check your dictionary out when I say it. I say Satan is mighty, or Satan is Mahdi, and God is almighty. I present to you now none other than the youth minister in training, brother Tahaka J. Shakur.
Original salute.
Black power!
Original salute.
Black power!
Original salute.
Black power!
In the name of the everlasting Father, he that causes all that exists to exist, he that is self-existent, he that created the sunships and leaves and trees and years ago, and he who made time the seed of the universe, known among the ancient Kemites as Amun-Ra and Aten, among the Hebrews as Ansaf, Yahweh, and Elohim, among the Christians as Lord, God, and Jehovah, among the Islamic and Muslim world as Allah, the one God, among the Rastafarians as Jah, Rastafari, among the Yoruba tribes of West Africa as Olomare. I bear witness that all these names refer to the same one God, and it is to him who I submit, and it's to him who I give reverence. I further proclaim that those men and women that survived the transatlantic slave trade, that we are their children, born here in North America of a Nubian and Kemetic lineage. I further proclaim that the nation, the blood of all of the world flow through our blood, and I greet you in the ancient, the holy words of peace, and as the words of our ancestors, as Hotep,
Maya Hotel.
Shalom,
Shalom alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum,
Alaikum salam, sir.
Barakani,
Emo Sante Habaragani.
Alafia,
Alafi Duque.
and Ashe.
Ashe.
And I think I'm gonna get hot with this, so let's take this off, because I feel like I'm gonna get in it, and this is gonna come off eventually, so I'm just gonna take it off now. And again, I'm the youth minister in training. My name is Taharka J. Shakur, and if you ever heard me speak before, you know the J was interchangeable. It was last year. It was interchangeable, but now it just stands for Jaja and justice. Jaja meaning a gift from God, and that gift from God being justice. And I'm under the leadership of our founder, Minister Raheem Cassette Aten, our co-founder, Minister Omari Jahi Aten, and our First Lady, Sister Makita Aten. And today, as the minister eloquently brought to us, and as Minister Omari definitely brought to us as he's been on the podium this last few times that we've come to you live on Facebook, we have been talking about something termed radical thought and unleashing radical thought.
That's right.
So I want to start by just defining a few words and then letting those words curate the rest of the lecture. So the first word that I want to define for you is radical. And the first definition, when you go to Merriam-Webster's definition, is of or relating to or proceeding from a root. That's talking about plants. But if you scroll down and you go to their third definition of the word, and then you go to A, very different from the usual or traditional, and then B, favoring extreme changes in existing views, habits, conditions, or institutions. So when we think about today and that word radical, so we understand that they put liquor stores in all of our communities. The radical thing would be to go stand in front of those liquor stores and stop people from going to them, because that's going against the institution. We understand that the public schools miseducate our children. The radical thing will be to homeschool and start our own schools to start teaching our children. So that's what being radical means. Now, another word I want to define for you is unleash by definition. And when we unleash a thing, what are we really doing? So basically, by definition, unleash is removing the restraints and letting go of the leash. So it is releasing, and then when we say we have to unleash radical thought, it is time to release from that leash or restraint that radical ideology that we need as a people. And we've talked many times about what a thought being. Thought being thought, the mind, and just the inspiration from the Creator. So now it's time for us to go to the root, which is our Creator, and then use the thoughts that He gives us to radicalize this world that we live in. So, as the ministers mentioned, he mentioned a very radical brother of ours, Dr. Khalid, and I won't be talking about Khalid today. The minister will be next Sunday. But who I will be talking about was somebody who was not as outwardly radical, but was a little bit more passive radical, but became more outwardly near the end. And that is Martin Luther King. And minister mentioned his inspiration being Gandhi. So, just a question. When we think about this world and the powers that be in white supremacy, what really agitates white supremacy? Is it us protesting in the streets and going rah, rah, rah? This is what democracy looks like. I don't think so, because we wouldn't be able to do it. Is it boycotting their stores? No, because they just gonna give you another sale come February if you boycott in November. No, but is it doing what Michael Jackson did and starting your own distribution company where you're going to start now manufacturing your own CDs? Wait a second, that agitated them. Because it is not the protesting, it is not the boycotting, unless you're directly affecting their pockets. Another way that would affect them, let's say we stop doing criminal activity. This is really going out there. We stop supplying their prison industrial complex. That would agitate them because they need that. So if we were to get our people together, which is why the black church don't be in the hood, which is why the Nation of Islam stays inside of the nation. Because if we were to actually go into the streets and start working with the young people and the minds of our young people, they will no longer be able to fund their prisons and have that work happen anymore. That's antagonizing them. So how did Martin Luther King antagonize them? Because he was a civil rights. He was talking about them civil rights and the rights for the sanitation workers and everything. But it was when that brother said, this war don't make sense. How are we fighting with another country over somebody else's trees? And I've heard that when people were in the war, they seen some of the trees, the rubber trees, stamped by some good companies we know of today, like Goodrich. No, what's the name of that company? Goodrich, Firestone. The tire companies had the trees stamped. So we was fighting a war for trees. We were killing other people just to take their trees. And Martin Luther King, with his influence and his power, decided to speak against it. He said, they say, no, brother. You can talk all you want about black people boycotting buses. You can talk all you want about black people getting more money for sanitation. You can talk all you want about us integrating with you. But you are not about to talk about us going to war for rubber. What does that tell us? That when we mess with their money, like really mess with their money, we talk about starting our own industries. We're talking about creating our own distributions and manufacturing companies. We're talking about literally eliminating the white man from our society. That scares them. That really irritates them. That is when they're going to do something about it. We think about it, the minister, I know we talked about Gandhi, but we have to really look at that. He was like, y'all, hey, make your own clothes. Burn this stuff. That's right. You wearing their clothes, and he say, no, burn it. That's their books. Burn. Burn it all. That's being radical. And the British was like, what is this man doing? We don't need y'all. And I think the white American would say the same thing to the black American that the British said to Gandhi. Look at the crime in y'all communities. Look at y'all neighborhoods. Y'all need us. And Gandhi told them, like we should tell them, y'all just leave, let that be our problem.
That's right.
We'll deal with it. So now we go and we look at that. And we think about a radical thought. And I've come on this podium many of times and mentioned basically a very extreme radical thought. We have given ourselves, and I love when the minister talks about it when he plays the song Dance with Our Fathers. He mentioned we may be dancing with the wrong, what did he say? With a stepfather.
Yeah. Not our true father.
Not our true father. So now when we as a people look at that and really go into that, and just when we look at, and I've come to this podium many times talking about our people have stepped away and don't really believe in our God. So the thought of this world, and I'm only saying it like this is because it's been really on my mind. We've given submission to the God of the white man. And I've said this, I think, during Christmas, that Jesus himself told the white man at that time that we do not have the same father. That my Father, which is in heaven, is not your father. Have we adopted the father of our oppressor?
Yes.
And if we have adopted the father of our oppressor, the radical thought in itself in that would be just to go back to our father. Would be to claim our father. So what does claiming our father look like? And before I go into some of the things that I have in my notes, we have the Holy Bible and the Quran. A lot of our people are stuck in Christianity, and even though the book was inspired by our father, it was dictated by their father.
That's right.
Even though the Quran was inspired through our father, it was orated by their father. So yes, we we in the temple, we use those books. We gain inspiration from those books because we're not letting their Father tell us how to interpret it. See, one thing I really like about Nat Turner, because that was really radical what he did with the Bible. See, we go into radical thought because we have to unleash that radical thought, and that's what Nat Turner did. He went from plantation to plantation with a Bible. And at first he was going to pacify the slaves. He was going to tell the slaves, the Bible said this, and this is how we should be. We should be okay with slavery. But they never thought he'd turn the page. Because sometimes we are just on the wrong page. That we're not reading the whole scripture. They tell you, read John, 1 John 1 through 3, but they don't tell you what 5 through 7 say. So Nat Turner decided to read 5 through 7, and 5 through 7 said, don't just turn the cheek. When you turn that cheek, you come in with the other, you come with the right hook if they slap you from the left. So he went, and then he started going to slave plantations, saying the exact same things that was in the Bible, that the slave owners wanted him to read, because at first, he didn't want them to realize how radical he became. But he's seen what it did for his people. He's seen when you speak those certain words and you use that Bible as the tool with inspiration from the Creator and not the dictation from the oppressor, it has a different power in it. And he was able to radicalize our people. Our people got together. And he was able to, in himself, tell 3,000 people, how many of y'all are willing to really fight for this freedom? You of them walked up. He said to get it, get them. And they did, because he radicalized, and they understood that their freedom would have came at a price they had to be paying. It had to be some of the lives of some of the people they might have been on the same plantation with. Some of those same brothers and sisters that have happened. So when we think about the radical thought of today that we need, I personally understand, and we have to come and accept the fact that all of our people cannot be saved. That's really radical. That's right. Because a lot of people in time have thought we can save them all. It's impossible to save all of our people. First and foremost, some of us are more European than others. I came on this podium, I talked about there's an inkling of European-ness in some of us. It's inside of us. We have been embedded with it for over 400 years. So you cannot tell me, no matter how pro-black you are, no matter how black conscious you are, that there's not a little inkling of European inside of you. Even if it's in your DNA, or if it's in your subconscious mind, it's in there. It's you fighting to decide which one comes out. See, we talk about Jesus and the devil sometimes being the same person, and one is just a good wolf and one is just a bad wolf that's both inside of you, and it's which one you're ruling from. So I just look at that with the same thing. You got the European inside of you, you got you inside of you. Which one are you letting rule? Are you okay with the things that happen in our community? Because the European is. Are you okay with black people shooting down each other? Because the European is. That's right. They care us not. The minister was watching a video and just a movie, and just watching the movie was irking me. Just seeing my people kill each other. That was, I was like, But a white man made the movie, so he enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying? He got a thrill out of seeing us kill each other and them kill us. You know what I get a thrill out of? I love watching them kill each other. See, that's a different thrill. See, because they get a thrill out of killing each other. Look at their history. Their history says they get a thrill out of killing each other. I hate seeing my people hurt. That's right. They don't hate seeing their people hurt. You can have a country in we just go to Greek history and Roman history. So the Romans and the Greeks looked alike. If we look at history, they both was white people. But the Romans cared not what they did to the Greeks. They didn't care that they looked like each other. We didn't learn that until we was colonized. You look at old tribal ways, and I like talking about one of my favorite people in history, man, Samusa. He didn't care what black you were. He didn't care what tribe he was in. He got money, he gonna share it with you. The European ain't doing that. That's not in their history. So then we go again to what would the radical thought be? The core thought. See, we have to really look at radical as being that root. So what is our root as black people? As those descendants of those black men and women that was brought over here from Africa. So the root of ours is connecting with nature. Did you know that we just lost the white rhinoceros? That now that animal is extinct. The last one just died about a week and a half ago. You know, they are saying statistically, with the rate of poaching, that elephants will be extinct in 9 years. Why is that a thing? Because we understand, and the root of us, we understood that we don't need that much from the animals. But they see the ivory and the health benefits they so-called say, and the clothing that they can get from it. But when we used to do that, we didn't take more than we needed. We understood the balance of nature, but now animals are going extinct that would have never been extinct. Like, why did the last white rhinoceros just die? Why? Because they call it white. They call it white rhino. Even though it's an African rhinoceros. They love doing stuff like that. So why did the last African rhinoceros just die? Why are the African elephants at risk? Because in their world, they don't mind killing things like that. I seen a picture the other day of a family of a mother fox feeding her children. And then the second picture showed the hunter put his gun next to it and all of them dead. For game and for sport. See, they kill for sport. We kill for necessity. When it comes to hunting and eating, my family needs to eat. My family needs clothing. So there are no more American bisons, right? Roaming in America, when our native and indigenous ancestors, they might just kill one. And they were able to feed their whole tribe for a while, basically clothe a whole lot of them, and the rest of them could go run free. But now, when the cowboys came, and the white people came, they say, we gonna kill all of them. See, that's something about their history. And while we have to go back to the root of who we are, we were curators of nature. We took care of nature. We were one with nature, and we talk about nature being nectar, and nectar meaning another way of saying God. So we understood that nature was just another expression of God. How we are just another expression of God. So what will be the radical thing and the radical thought in that and then with our people? We have to understand and start thinking like God. That will be radical. Not, and it'd be rad too. You know how we say you can use radical as that was radical, man. That'd be radical if we became radical. If we understood and start antagonizing the white man. And me and the minister had a conversation, and I presented something in it. He was saying, if you were a football player and nobody was defending you, wouldn't you just run free? I personally said, no, I'll walk now. Because there's no resistance. So I'll be able to easily do what I was doing since there's no resistance. He was saying it in a sense, wouldn't you speed up since there's no resistance? So if you put the two of those things together, if there's no resistance, you can do it with ease and you can do it quickly. That's seeing it in both ways. So I seen it, I can do it easier now. He's seen it, I can do it quicker now. But now they can do it quicker and easier with no resistance from us, with us not antagonizing them. See, when we antagonize the white man, I love the history of the TOMA. We antagonized them when we wanted the bottles out of the store that looked like liquor bottles. So we say, oh, we'll have this meeting with you, but then we went to antagonize them in the store and we started messing with their money because they was like, I thought y'all told us that y'all have this meeting with us, but then we get them liquor bottles. Juice bottles that look like liquor bottles out the store. See, that's not happening anymore. And we need to start coming to the root and showing the root of this gun violence in our communities. See, we understand that we don't manufacture a bullet, we don't manufacture a gun, we don't produce them, we don't mass distribute them. So how the heck do they keep getting in our communities? Is it someone's objective to destroy black people? See, we say that this is a denial objective, But how much can you deny it if, again, we don't produce none of that stuff? We don't make the drugs. Yes, I'm not going to take what I'm about to say. We're not intelligent enough to want to kill ourselves like that. We're not about to go into a lab and create a drug to kill us. We're not intelligent enough to do that. Or we're too intelligent to do that. Because they go in the lab and they create all type of drugs and they test it on sometimes even themselves. That's how AIDS came to America and white people got AIDS. They went to deliver it to us. They started having sex with us. They got AIDS. So they even make the stuff to mess with themselves. They created their cancers, gave them to us, and now they're dying from cancer. That just don't make no sense. But we go into the root of this. We, as a people, obviously can't be the root of our problem. Because we don't own the necessary pieces to keep us oppressed. We might have the tools and the solution to, that word don't work. To get us off the economic bottom, to get us off this bottom, for us to come out of the time that we are in. So as I open this up, and I just wanted to go back, and it was something funny, and Minister thought I wouldn't bring this one up, but it's the one that popped through my head just now. So, Dr. Francis talked a lot about what the white man was really worried about when it came to the black man. And as long as the black man exists, the white man would always be worried because our gun is stronger than their gun. See, I ain't gonna go too wild because I was told not to go too wild on the podium with that one. But I'm just gonna say our gun is way stronger than their gun. See, our gun multiplies. Their gun destroys. So our bullets replenish overnight. They gotta build theirs in a factory. I'm more afraid about the natural. I'll be more afraid about the natural gun that has infinite amount of ammunition. Because it has infinite, last time I checked, our gun never runs out. But their guns, eventually they gotta change the clip. So what is that saying? That they try to equalize themselves to us. I like how the minister mentioned, and Dr. Francis talks about, where did the cowboys keep their guns? On their waist. Because they wanted to look big down there. They wanted to feel like they had some power, some type of strength down there. And who do they target? See, if you look at any of the old, we'll say R-rated, X-rated things, they got us used to seeing women with each other. For years, we got used to seeing woman-on-woman action, so they like, we ain't got to deal with the black woman now. And we as men, okayed it. We enjoyed it. We was like, oh yeah, I like that. So they like, we ain't got to deal with the woman. Let's deal with the man. So what's the ways that they got most of us locked up with 2 million, and the numbers are a lot higher now. But with the millions of people in jail, 80% of them are black. That makes no sense if we're, like they tell us, we're 13% of the population. How are we 80% of the jails? That makes no sense. Then they're killing a lot of us. We're killing ourselves, so we're dying at a very extreme rate from our diets and the things we eat, the drugs that we consume, the liquor that we drink. Because I think there's somewhere in here that talks about, and I just have to find the percentage of how alcohol plays a big part in what happens to us as black people when it comes to domestic violence, when it comes to car accidents, when it just comes to violence in general. Most of the time, the person is inebriated. They're under the influence. And if we got all this alcohol in our community, then we have more liquor stores and grocery stores. What are they showing us? In their history, it used to force us to get drunk and then fight. in slave time. That was their holiday. It was hell for us, but we celebrate these holidays. Christmas used to be a time where they would get us super, super drunk and just have us fight each other to the death. They'd find the two strongest black men, get them super drunk and tell them to fight. After a while, that brother might not realize that that's his brother, because in his head, that's just another person, and he know massa told him to do it. And then all the other slaves, they're drinking, they're getting turned on by this, they're enjoying this. That's why we have something called World Star Hip Hop. That's why the most viral videos on Facebook are the ones with people fighting. Do we not see the correlation of what they did to us in our history? How, again, you might not have European in your DNA, but it's definitely in your subconscious, because last time I checked, they created the Colosseums. They had it a sport where they get gladiators to fight each other to the death. That was their thing. We enjoy it. The minister says, and then no, the minister don't say it. The Quran said, if I wanted to create a game and sport and a pastime, I would have created one. But I didn't create one. So who Father did? See, I have to go back to that. When we think about radical thought and how we have to really unleash it, this world is ruled by evil. I don't care how you look at it. I don't care how you want to throw the stick, throw whatever. You skip the rock, eventually it's going to go into darkness. Because at the bottom of the ocean, the bottom of the lake is dark there. So no matter how far you throw it, it's darkness. So we're living in the world of evil. And as the minister said, when a Christ is sent, and I think I've said it before, you should have it be your mission to want to get rid of the evil in this world. Now, I'm about to attack some institutions. The Christian church is not fighting Satan. Because if they was fighting Satan, they would have a problem. They would talk about sex trafficking from their podium. They would talk about the rise of homosexuality. Not how demonizing it, but the rise of it. Because that is against God. I don't care how you look at it. God made man and women, and the only way that we can be co-creators and create life is as a man and a woman. Man and man can't co-create and create life. A woman and a woman cannot copulate and co-create life. It is not happening. So why is the church not saying nothing about the rise of it? Pedophilia. Why is the church not saying nothing about pedophilia? Why are we about to really let this law pass? Wait, I think it did pass. We talk about January, they passed a lot of laws and we don't think about it. I think that law did pass. The government shut down, but they still pass laws. Think about that. So why is the church not saying anything about that? I'm going to come at the Nation of Islam with this one. We understand what's happening in some of the African countries, that the Islamic people are enslaving our people again. Why aren't they saying anything about that? That's Satan. Why are we not attacking Satan? Satan likes men to prey on little children. Why are we not saying anything against Satan? Why are we okay? And when I say we, I'm talking about the black church and the black Islam world.
And the Catholics.
I was going to hit the Catholic church because Christians are just Catholics and didn't want to claim that they're Catholic. And all they popes and cardinals and the different ranks, they all got cases with pedophilia. They got statues of the man messing with the little boy. I've seen some very weird statues that they have. That's Satan to parade something like that. And I think, and I'm about to attack one of our people, Nature Boy. Because something he said was very sadistic as I really think about it. When he said that he would let his son, after copulating with his wife, touch him. And when I say him, I mean the him that I can't say on the podium. So why would you let him touch him? Yeah, what the minister said.
Phallus.
The phallus. You know, he let him touch his phallus right after that. That sounds like, oh yeah, and it's okay for him to do that. No, that sounds like the Catholic Church to me. Oh, it's okay for the child to do that. It's nothing wrong. That's them seeing the light. I think we confuse the light that Satan brought and that Jesus was. See, the snake told Eve if she eat from this apple, she would see how God sees. That you would have the knowledge that God has. Now, first and foremost, I don't know why he told her that. That in itself is almost impossible. Because Satan knew he didn't have the knowledge that God had, so how are you going to promise that? Mm-hmm. First and foremost. But he said, I'll help you see. I'll show you the light. So he was able to, in quotes, show people the light. He just said, I am the light. Through me, you see the Father. He said, I can help you see what God sees. Not, I'll help you see God. I'll help you see what God sees. In this world, think the rulers of this world think they can be like God. How many animals are there making in their labs? It's a funny one, but it still don't make sense to me. But they say they made the pig, even though the pig has ancestors, the hog. It's been around for a very long time. If you take a hog out of captivity, for some reason it loses its hair. But then when the pig goes back into the wild, it turns back into a hog. But yeah, we'll let the Nation of Islam have that one, I guess. That it was created from a rat, a dog, and a cat. Sure. But the sheep that they're making in their labs, the cows that they're making in their labs, they now think they are creators, that there's other way to create life. See, when we look at the problem in our community, when we look at the violence and the organizations and the companies that benefit, and why some of our leaders are not calling them out when it comes to the violence in our community, why is no one talking about the rise of gun violence? Why is nobody talking about the police brutality on the way it needs to be? I personally believe that the Chicago Police Department and the police, the Fraternal Order of Police in America does not need to be in black communities. Why is no one saying that? Why is no one saying burn all the police district buildings in our community? I'm not telling anybody to do that. I remember I heard the Dr. Khaled speech when he said something really, really radical, and all the people in the audience, the police had to come in because they was worried that he said it and the people was going to start doing it. So please, nobody burn a police station down now. Now, right? Don't say that I told you to do it. Don't do it now. And I don't want to say burn the schools, because we can just reuse them in and of itself. But we need to run them out. There's a problem that our boys, and we got to get to the core of it, because so many of them end up in the street because they know they're being miseducated. I remember being in school, and a lot of my friends when I lived out west, they go to school and they would do nothing. And the only reason why they was engaged, we had a Filipino teacher, and they would pay no attention to her. But I would learn the lesson, and I would take them in the back, and I would talk with them. I would help them learn, because I realized that our people don't learn that way. You can't write something on the board, go sit down, and tell them to copy that and do the work. That don't work for our people. We need to be engaged. We need to see more visuals. So the way that our people are being educated, it ain't working. So they go out into the streets now. They go do the actual work. A lot of them know math. How they selling drugs? How do they know how much they got to give to do? How do they know how much money they need to make? They know chemistry. They cooking all the time. They might not be cooking the right chemicals together, but they know chemistry. They understand biology, because they see how when they give the crack to a crackhead, how their bodies react. Because biology is the study of life. They see how the person's life is now deteriorating. So they understand it, and they see it, and they learn more in the streets. And then the streets is set up to send them to jail. So they first get miseducated, then they get in the streets, now they get the alcohol into their systems, then they commit a crime. Now they're put into their unjust system, and we lose another black man. See, when we again, I mentioned black men have been in youth, we really have to look at what's happened with our black men being arrested at the numbers that they are. They can't copulate in jail. They can't produce life in jail. It's impossible. So they like, okay, I'm gonna lock him up at 16. I'm gonna give him 40 years. I can just give him 40 years. When he come out at 56, he might not have this sex drive no more. So they lock us up, not because we committed a crime. It's because they are afraid. And when we understand that they are afraid of that, and we start looking at their system, and I purposely understand that we as a people need to understand that this justice system that they call justice is unjust and is set up for us to fail. So why do we keep perpetuating the things and constantly doing the things that causes this pain? It causes mothers to be crying at funerals because their son was gunned down or their son just got life in jail. I seen a quick clip of a brother who broke down when he was told he had life in jail. You was doing the thing and you seen somebody else get it. Are we insane? We must be insane as a people. Because the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over. Now, you might not be the same person doing it, but if we see our people doing it, so we're insane as a people because we're constantly doing the same things over and over and expecting a different result. We're marching, expecting a different result. We're protesting, expecting a different result. We're selling drugs on the corner, expecting a different result. We're rapping, expecting a different result. We're going into Hollywood, expecting a different result. We must be insane. If we don't deal with the core and deal with the Arabs in our community, if we don't deal with the Asians in our community, if we don't deal with the fact that they have their own communities, it don't matter who's the alderman, who's in power, the power lies within themselves. So it's time for us to have a little Africa. You know what I'm saying? A black city. Like they got Chinatown, we need to have a black mile. Or that's why I really love the Blacknificent mile. Because it's time for us to realize we don't need their grants. Because I like something that I read earlier when Minister was having me read in the comments. That I'm going to find. Because it has to do with their grants. How can you being granted something? No, I want to read the definition of the word grant. When you grant somebody something, and I have enough time to do this, and I can end doing this. Because we as a people think they're going to give us anything. That we are going to be allowed anything. So to grant, come on, why give me the definition of Alicia? Thank you. Agree to give or allow something requested. Agree or admit to a sum of money. So that this is what the government does. A sum of money given by a government or other organization for a particular purpose. No, when you give somebody something, that's like me giving money to a homeless person because I granted it to him. I gave it out of my pocket and I gave it up to him. And telling him what he got to buy with it. I said, no, you can't get McDonald's. No, you can't go to Popeyes. My money got to be spent at Mariano's. How does that sound? That sounds like I'm stupid. So the government is going to tell, okay, I'm going to give you this money, but you have to do this with it. Then you have to tell me everything you do with it, or you got to pay it all back to me if one cent is off. So how that is not a people, there's not a nation in the Bible, there's not a nation in history that was granted their freedom. So we should not take any of their grants. We should not be asking them for reparations because the Jews can say, never forget. But we as a people are constantly going through it. So we can't say never forget because the past is still right here in the present. It is time for us to say, come, not never forget, but we should uplift. There we go. We should uplift. We should now uplift each other. We just came from Kwanzaa, and I talked about how Kwanzaa we need to live Kwanzaa 365 with the principles that was presented in Kwanzaa, with the first one being unity, and then going back into faith. And that radical thought is us having faith in our Father, us going back to our Father, the Father that art in heaven, as the Bible says, but heaven is heaven. So we look for a God outside of ourselves. And the Christian world, I had a friend who told me, I got 2 minutes so I can say this and close. Told me that her family, when she went to her family, she was telling them that she was doing yoga on the beach and she was meditating and all this other stuff. And she said said, y'all want to pray to God in church, I'm praying to the God within. They said, you must be a witch. That you must be a witch to think that God is inside of you. But the last time I checked, when you create something, don't you leave a little bit of you inside of it? Why do our children act like us? Why do they have characteristics like us? Because if God created us, don't we got some of God within us? Right. See, that thinking process, that's why I go back to the snake, trick the crap out of her. She said, you're going to see what God sees. How? Last time I checked, God uses your eyes to see. So you are seeing what God sees. You're seeing God's creation. Satan deceives us. This world deceives us. This world tells you what you should eat. And they give you a food pyramid. They're deceiving us. They tell us so many things. And they just deceive us. This world has just been deceiving us as a people. So it's time for us to really wake up. It's time for us to do the things as a people to really antagonize our enemy. We should no longer we should no longer stand by when the police are antagonizing our people. We should at least stand there. Don't record it in the sense that you're going to make a video go viral and let it get to the point where they're about to shoot them. I like the story that the minister told me when the police was antagonizing a young man. He went down there and grabbed the young man and said, I got him. It is time that we start saying, I got our people. Understanding that we have to be that shield. We have to be that vanguard. We have to be those people who stand in front and prepare our people for the next generation. Again, we have to sow those seeds. And if we not sow those seeds, I do not see a future for future generations. So I leave you as I greeted you in the ancient but holy words of peace and our ancestors. As Hotep.
Hotep.
Shalom.
Shalom alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, sir.
Abaragani.
Jemosante Abaragani.
Lafia.
Lafia Duque.
And Ashe.
Ashe.
I'm sorry, anyway, I just did that.